welcome to the Gold Line Stand with a brand new, beautiful intro. I got to apologize to Chris on air because I was actually a little harsh on him because I thought it was him dragging his feet. Turns out it
Yep.
was actually Sam, so I got to apologize to Chris on that.
All
As
good.
always, as always, we got Chris, Justin's with us, Kenyon, and AC Alex is with us as well. Um, before we get into the NFL news, one of our guys here on the panel has an announcement to make. So, Kenyon, what's your announcement, my man?
My announcement is I ain't never done anything like this, so I feel like I look like a little dork. But my announcement is I'll be signing with the Salina Liberty this year. For the 2024 season, I'm excited for everything. Let's go, Salina. Hey, I'm gonna give everything I got to Kansas because I love y'all. I've been in Kansas before. I love Kansas. So hey, let's get ready. Let's turn it up. I'm ready. Let's go. Man in the middle.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Congratulations, my man. That's awesome news.
Thank you.
Good luck to you on the season as well as we move forward into the indoor and arena league as the NFL season winds down in the next several weeks. We still got some time though. Let's talk about this past week, week 7. What was it? 6 teams on bye. I
Yep.
mean, it was like basically it was the who's who of teams that were on bye. I was going to open up the show and go on a huge rant. And I'm going to just start off right off the top with the topic that I came up with, and it's the QB bias or QB narrative that the league, I don't even want to say the league, I want to say that media pushes. And primarily the main reason why I want to talk about this right quick is because Monday it was Sam Howell, and then Tuesday it was Brock Purdy. Today it's been all about these two quarterbacks basically being dragged by fans. It's Howell's fault in Washington that he's been sacked, 40 some odd times. He has poor pocket awareness. He has, you know, awful, he holds onto the ball too long, like completely absolving the offensive line of any issues, right? Then yesterday, with the loss to Minnesota, Brock Purdy is now being completely blamed 100% for his play in that game, and it cost them their game against Minnesota. Now, for me, I look at it from a standpoint, and I focus primarily on Sam Howell. I'll jump back to Sam Howell for a second. His numbers in his first no, before I do that, both these quarterbacks have less than 20 starts. Sam Howell has less than 10 starts. He has 8. Brock Purdy, I believe, has 11. Somebody can correct me on that, but I think it's 11 total in the regular season. So, is the narrative for quarterbacks, media driven wise, anyways, much harsher and much more critical on guys not drafted in the first round? And I primarily say this because first 6 starts this year, Sam Howell's numbers, he has more passing yards than Peyton Manning had in his first 6. And he has an equal touchdown to interception ratio as Peyton Manning. And he has a higher completion percentage than Peyton Manning. Now, I know it's 2 different eras, and I'm not comparing Sam Howell to Peyton Manning. That would just be absurd and ridiculous, right? But none of those numbers, other than the sack numbers, in my opinion, really stand out as numbers that he should be benched for Jacoby Brissett. Then you have the 49ers on the 49ers side. Shouldn't have traded Trey Lance. Trey Lance wouldn't have lost that game to Minnesota. Trey Lance, blah, 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 this, that, and next. Justin, you're the quarterback here. I want to come to you first to get your opinion about this. Media-driven narrative, is it too critical on guys drafted outside the first round? Because I can list a bunch of first-round quarterbacks that aren't getting the same criticism from fans and media that these two have gotten just in the last 2 days alone.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at how the media talks about quarterbacks, and hey, we can even look at draft time because I think obviously the draft buildup, and this is where all this kind of starts. You look at the guys that are always going to be pinned as your number 1, number 2, maybe even number 3 quarterback off the board that goes in the first round typically. And what puts them there? It's either a combination of elite talent, elite projectability, and obviously your exposure and resume of what you did in your college football career. And so with that, the media is going to talk about that. And that portrays or brings about hype to fans and organizations and all that. And at the end of the day, quarterback, in terms of a media perspective, is the most important position on the field. And so you look at that and it's okay. Of course, that's where the fans are going to jump to and say that this guy's got to be the savior. This guy's got to play perfect. And it creates expectations for first round draft picks that they are going to be the guy. And if you just give them time, because you obviously have those two different types of fans, the ones that are going to be overly optimistic about everything and give the guy a chance to develop because he was drafted in high first round because of the talent and the projectability, blah, blah, blah. And then you've also got the other guy that's like, okay, he was the number 1 overall pick. He's got to be the savior immediately, whatever. You're going to be in those two boats. But no, at the end of the day, these guys are, I mean, the position's media driven, especially with, I mean, what you see the media do. But yeah, I think those are very valid arguments to make. And the guys that are drafted 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, Mr. Irrelevant, are looked at as, oh, they're less talented. They're not very good. Oh, they just kind of scraped the bottom of the barrel and somehow made the NFL when they should be an accountant. And that's where I guess it's more of a, oh, you proved me right in the draft process of, oh, you're not as good whenever you start to fail. So no, I mean, there's two sides of the coin, and unfortunately, this is one of those times that the other side of the coin starts popping up. Is it true? No, but that's how it is.
And that's where I wanted to go with it, and that was going to be part of a huge rant that I was going to go on. Kenyon, I'm going to come to you next. So we'll get to a Cleveland Brown update. So I just want to focus on one side of this here. Deshaun Watson, you guys gave up a ton for Deshaun to come in from Houston, and then you guaranteed $230 million. And when he's been healthy, he has played like a bottom of the league type quarterback as far as starting quarterbacks are concerned. Definitely not a $230 million man. And PJ Walker has now led the Brownies to 2 victories in the 4th quarter. And he probably had the best throw of the weekend, or one of the best throws of the weekend, to get you guys down there at the end of the game to give you guys a chance to win. How the game ended is a different story, but nonetheless, he got you down the field. I mean, is from a Brownies perspective, are you one of those fans that's now calling like maybe it's time to have your $230 man and kind of, I mean, it's hard with that contract, but maybe a QB change?
I never opposed a QB change in the beginning. I already had my 6th sense. My spidey sense is right here tingling and saying Deshaun Watson might not be it. But it's like, we already got the big contract and we got to let it slide because it's like we're already giving them X, Y, and Z amount of money. So it's like, as a business standpoint, I for sure can understand where everybody's mind is. But if you have your number 2 and he's outperforming your number 1, I'm a firm believer of the best play. So I don't want to just give him the boot and make him the number 2, but my brother needs to step up. That's all I got to
say. Alex, you're a receiver in this situation. You see things from a little bit different perspective. What's your take on the QB narrative side of things? And not anybody in particular, but just that, is it too critical of some of these guys and some of these teams move on too quickly if they're not a first-round pick?
Well, first, Kenyon, I want to say congratulations, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it, my dog.
For sure. But so Brock Purdy's different. And the reason I say it's different is because they can sell the narrative of Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant. You know what I mean? So as long as it fits the NFL, they can make that work. Sam Howell, on the other hand, he in no way benefits anything that the NFL will be able to push. If he does great, that's great. If he does bad, then they can pile on him, because of who he is. So I do think that's just how the media drives it. But I do think you go with the position. That happens to be the give and take of the position. When you're successful, you're great. When you're poor, it's your fault, and that just comes with the territory, especially when you've had so much immediate success as Brock Purdy has had and played on the platforms he's played on. When it comes to Deshaun, I was never a fan of them getting Deshaun anyway because I think the Browns are in a we're in a panic-stricken situation. Um, they try to put a band-aid over the fact that they blew one of the best rosters assembled in the AFC North in years when they had Baker, and they held on to that a little too long. But you get a guy who wasn't even eligible to play, and you pay him guaranteed money before you even know if he's going to be found guilty or innocent, which makes no sense to me. But then you gotta take into accountability, like there's no DeAndre Hopkins on the Browns. I mean, that's a substantial impact of player that you don't have. So just assuming that majority of it was Deshaun Watson, I mean, what are you asking him to do? Because even with the Texans, it's not like they had enormous success. You know, if anything, there's a lot of empty calories. He put up a lot of numbers, but to go where? You know what I mean? So
It's interesting you bring that up because before he ever stepped foot on the field for Cleveland, his win-loss record was actually worse than Mitchell Trubisky's, and Trubisky was already outed in Chicago and blamed for everything that happened in Chicago. But for some reason, the narrative was Deshaun is the man, Trubisky was the problem, and they were both first-round picks. So it's very interesting to see that in that aspect of things. So,
oh yeah,
you know, I mean, Chris, you know, we'll get to the Patriots update here in a little bit, but you've had quarterback issues up there in New England with everything that's going on. They just waived Malik Cunningham. He is now going to be probably going to end up reverting back to the taxi squad or practice squad, whatever the hell y'all call him.
Mac Jones, next Brady.
Mac has looked good the last 2 weeks, or solid, I should say, the last 2 weeks. I wouldn't go out of my way to be like, you know, maybe it's turning the corner, but I mean, you got to have some kind of intriguing as far as Mac is concerned. Did you feel the same way about the narrative with Mac when he was going through his problems?
Sure. So, let me start with this, right? When you say PJ Walker, and we talk about this narrative with quarterbacks, I love PJ Walker. I think his story is incredible, you know, him coming from the XFL and everything. But my only issue is PJ Walker's career stats: 5 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 55% completion percentage. So pretend he's not an XFL guy. What's the narrative with him? You know what I mean? It's one of those things where not.
Well, I'm gonna hold you right there. I'm not saying that PJ Walker is going to be a guy that should come in and start necessarily over Deshaun Watson. I'm just saying that right now, with the way that is being played, do you make that switch? And that's why I asked that question.
No, I can't. I can't. When I love Deshaun, I believe Deshaun can get back to his potential. I really, really do believe that. I think being like a year off of football, it takes a hit on you. It really does. You know, we have a bunch of players on here, like they can tell you the same thing. When you're gone from the game for a year, especially at that level, it's hard to get back. Deshaun will get back. He'll slowly start to get better, and I believe it. And I think we're going to see a change. My only issue is it's not Sam Howell's fault, right? The offensive line is terrible. You can make the argument that might be the worst offensive line in the league. So these are things that you have to consider. I feel like every quarterback's downfall, there's factors around it. There are quarterbacks in this league that are just straight up bad. Like Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle is straight up bad at football. You know what I mean? Like, there's guys
coming at guys' throats, huh, Krish? Okay.
Yeah, like you have. Yeah, I just have honestly, man. Like, there's certain guys in this league.
What is it with you, Krish? Is it the Cavs? Because you might be turning on me next, I guess. If we're looking at Cavs.
Oh man, Chris, hey man, you were very open and honest about a lot of that stuff, you know, about a lot of those guys in the chat. Anyway, it's a private chat. You know, and Sam Howell's not absolved of problems. Like, he holds onto the ball too long. He has some pocket awareness things. I feel like that there's some coaching that needs to be happening there, though. Whether it's coming from Ron Rivera or Eric Bieniemy, I feel like something is amiss right now at this moment. But if you take a look at his numbers and you take a look at the way that the game is played, Howell is not he's not necessarily winning the team games, but he's not losing the team games in certain spots. Like the Buffalo game, that's probably the one anomaly where he cost everybody. But overall, it's not like he's really put the team in bad position after bad position after bad position. I mean, they were one play away from beating Philadelphia 3 weeks ago. So I mean, it's not like it's a situation where Washington is 3-4 because of Howell. You know what I mean? Like, it would be a different story if he was, but he isn't. And we'll see what happens here moving forward. I just don't think it's time for a QB change in Washington. A coaching change, on the other hand, may happen. That's a different story. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Deb, welcome, my man.
Cleveland.
I saw you over there.
How's it going?
Good. Hey, do you have an announcement or something?
Say it again?
Do you have an announcement or anything?
Yeah, I have an announcement to say that I signed to AIFL team.
Yeah? Where'd you sign, my man?
I've signed to the Amarillo Venom.
There you go.
So
nice.
Got into a great opportunity. So now I'm able to get with those guys and get back into football.
There you go. Congratulations on that, my man.
Bro.
Indeed.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Chris came to me and told me that both you and Kenyon had signed, so we figured to give you a quick moment to make your quick announcement. So that's awesome. Good for you on that.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if you caught some of the conversation or not, but we were just talking about QB narrative, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, did you have any thoughts on this, or is it something that you just you didn't really have a ton that was already said or not?
Is this to piggyback on the QB situation in Cleveland?
Just anything as far as a QB narrative. Like, does the media tend to lean heavily towards first rounders and kind of be overcritical of people outside the first round?
I think it's one of those things where you see someone you believe they're still. We're looking at a situation in the Jets and what they have over there, and I think they tend to be over. They forget about the guys that are, second round, third round, and even undrafted. I believe there's a skill level and people are hungry enough to, step into a role. It has nothing to do with, first rounder. It's just you going out there and being able to work at the end of the day and win games.
Yeah, no doubt. With that being said, I want to jump real quick. We're almost halfway through the season, okay, and we're at a point now where we start talking about some races, and the MVP race is one that is always a hotbed topic, always something to talk about. Chris, you brought it up, so the fact that you brought it up in the chat, I have a feeling you have an idea as to who you want to say. And unfortunately, I got to tell you, my man, I don't think Kendrick Bourne is part of this conversation. You knew it was going to come back and bite you in the ass, man. You knew it was going to.
You know what? I'll give you this. When I said that before the season, every week after that, I started putting $10 on Kendrick Bourne over yards, and I wanted to be a man of my word, man. I really did, man. I by the way, I want to clarify. I said AFC offensive player of the year, not MVP. I just said AFC. But it's still equally as crazy.
You said Kendrick Bourne would be AFC.
It's the offensive player of the year in the preseason show.
Yeah, this was before you were on AC.
Yeah.
Cause he my dog, man, but you tripping.
Yeah, that was bad. That was one of my worst takes I ever made on camera. But MVP, right? So
he'll be the team. He could maybe team MVP. He could get there.
I mean, he's had some good weeks. I mean, he really has played all right. It's not like he's been terrible. It's just, that offense has been pretty.
They got a team full of wide receiver threes. He's the best one.
But no. So MVP. I told someone that I believe Kirk Cousins should be in the MVP race. They told me I was a crackhead. So I mean,
hey, no.
Man, but that's legit though. Kirk leads the NFL in touchdowns and passing yards. So that's a legit argument. My MVP though so far is Tyreek Hill. I believe Tyreek Hill has shown game in, game out that he's an impact maker on his team. He's putting up numbers. He's gonna get to that. What did he want to get to? 2,000 yards. He said something.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna get
at least close to that. He'll get close to that. Very, very close. He's a baller. I mean, I can't say Paku. What Puka? Paku? I don't.
Puka
Nakua.
Puka Nakua. He's not MVP. Tyreek Hill is my MVP right now, but Kirk is a close to.
Puka's going to win Rookie of the Year in the NFC. Kenyon, who is your MVP at this point of the league right now for this year?
That's such a good question. I'm not necessarily the guy to, hop into the MVP, conversation. But I can say anybody. I can say anybody right now.
You can say anybody. I mean, we're halfway through the season. You can say anybody. I mean, Christian Kendrick Bourne was going to win the AFC Offensive Player of the Year. You can say anybody. It's fine.
And hey, you can still say Aaron Rodgers.
I got one for you. Give me Travis Kelce and the Swifties.
Yep. And the Swifties, yeah. Look at that.
Yep.
There's the Swiftie conversation right here on goal line stand.
All right,
it was coming.
Kenyon gets the MVS award, most valuable Swiftie.
We got to get Kenyon a shirt now that says he's a Swiftie. We got to get that out there so we can put that. Sell merch, man. Merch.
Certified Swiftie.
Cruel summer.
I'm a Swiftie on the chest.
Cruel summer. I like it. Nice drop. Nice drop. I like that. AC, what about you, my man? You gonna stick in the wide receiver room like Chris did?
I am, because I'm sick of it. The Heisman and the MVP being a quarterback award, like it's most valuable player. But honestly, I was big time Tyreek Hill. I'm not a fan of him dropping the ball though. I'm really not. Like people put him in the conversation for I think I heard someone say he was top 5 ever. I think that's way too soon. But I mean, it was pros that said it. I think it was LaShawn McCoy that said it. But I would say I'm kind of split between AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill right now because of what they mean to their team. AJ has over 800 yards. It's going into week 7. Tyreek has 900, but it's
man.
I mean, what he does, to me, it's just so much more impactful. You know what I'm saying? Like he takes over games. Tyreek does make his splash plays in terms of filling the stat sheet, but it doesn't have the same oomph to me. You know what I mean? So that's what I got.
All right. Justin, are you going to stick in the quarterback room? That's the question.
So this year with the MVP race, I think this is the most open I think an MVP race has been to my memory in the NFL. And any of these names that I rattle off here, I would not be opposed to saying that they don't deserve MVP. Like meaning like these are dudes that legitimately deserve it, whether it's from stat sheet, what they mean to their team, whatever. Now, obviously, Kirk Cousins is not in that list, even though I would love to say that he is. So, Krish, that one's a you thing. But
Justin,
I mean, look at
I hate to cut you off because you're my quarterback, but I'm going to do it. I change everything. Lamar Jackson by far to me is MVP.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Lamar.
That's a good one.
Well,
that's a good one.
Lamar, especially if he does what he did this week and has continued to do what he's been doing and not have the bad game, I think he's in that conversation too. But as of right now, I don't think he's in the conversation yet. I think he needs a week or two more of that consistency for me, at least. But I mean, you look at Christian McCaffrey, you look at AJ Brown, you look at Tyreek Hill, and those are just 3 guys that are non-quarterbacks. And Patrick Mahomes is still there. Josh Allen, I don't think he's done enough to deserve to be in the race. And I mean, and then if you look at who's then feeding Tyreek, it's Tua Tagovailoa. So I think those are the guys that are truly in the race for it. But I look at the quarterbacks here and Kirk Cousins is leading the league in passing. Tua is right there feeding Tyreek Hill. And they've both been overall consistent through the year. But at the end of the day, I could honestly see it being an AJ Brown or a Christian McCaffrey, because the reason why these teams are winning is what they are doing offensively for their football teams. Now, at the end of the day, knowing how the NFL works, it's probably still going to be a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Tua Tagovailoa or Lamar Jackson, because the MVP's turned into the quarterback award. And then your offensive player of the year in the AFC or NFC is going to be the best position player outside of a quarterback that made noise. So that's where I think your Tyreek Hills or your Christian McCaffreys are going to fall to where they get their at least semi-fair chance at an award. And then whoever the best quarterback in the league or most valuable quarterback in the league will probably end up getting that award. That's where I even maybe say as a quarterback, there needs to be an MVQ award, most valuable quarterback, and make that be a quarterback-only category, and then an MVP maybe be just player in general, which maybe starts leaning towards other position players because you look at statistically and what a lot of these players do for their teams. Like, I don't think the 49ers, even though they have a ton of talent around them, the 49ers still run through Christian McCaffrey. So, and defense. So 49ers are probably not as good of a team if Christian doesn't do what he does. And even when he does, Minnesota still had a good game plan, and we'll talk about that later, but they still won.
All right. Yeah, I like Christian McCaffrey. Deb, how about you, my man? What's your front runner or a couple names that you can throw out here for the MVP candidacy?
I like what AC said. Just to talk about Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown, and we can argue that Tyreek Hill is 900 yards halfway through the season, and he's doing what he's doing. But I like the AJ impact and what he does to the Eagles as far as making those big plays. Because Tyreek is your flashy guy. He's one of those persons that's gonna touch the ball and maybe run for 100 yards on accident. So
this is where we need. This is where we need Sam, the Eagles fan, in here to pull up his stats on the screen and all that, because I want a stat guy pulling up what would be Jalen Hurts' stats without A.J. Brown. And if Jalen Hurts is even more of a bad quarterback without A.J. Brown, which I'm pretty sure it would, Brown by a long shot.
It would be a bad quarterback?
Kenyon, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, if it wasn't for A.J. Brown, I think I saw something along the lines on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Jalen Hurts would rank like 29th in the league in QBR. I mean, granted that we wouldn't know what would happen as far as filling out what would Devontae Smith and all that other stuff, but essentially, roughly, his stats would probably be taken into. He'd be ranked right around 29th on in a lot of categories, especially yardage wise.
Since they traded for him, it's definitely been an impact.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, what is he like? Five straight games over 150 yards, something like that. I mean, it's insane. I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something here. Oh yeah, for sure, Calvin Johnson. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say something here because I love AJ Brown. He was one of my favorite players coming out. He was actually my wide receiver one the year that he came out. Everybody else was talking about whatever, but AJ was my guy. But I want to talk about the impact that Cooper Kupp brings to the Rams. Now I know that they were succeeding with Puka, and he missed the first 4 games of the year, but Cooper Kupp doesn't. He gets the recognition, but he doesn't. I don't ever feel like he gets the recognition because he is a guy who literally eats up the targets, as he has a high reception percentage with the target ratio, and he's one of those guys that takes over a game. You just don't realize he's taking over a game. Like he's like a ninja. Cooper Ninja Kupp. That's what I'm going to go with. That's not going to stick, but that he is though. That's really what it is for him. But I'm going to throw a name out here that's going to might surprise everybody here. And Kenyon, pay attention. Myles Garrett. Nobody has impacted a game or games this year more than Myles Garrett has, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Just go take a look at his numbers against San Francisco. Go take a look at his numbers against Indianapolis. Go take a look at his numbers the week before. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's crazy how he takes over games, whether it's QB pressures or just disrupting the pocket or whatever it may be. I know it's not going to happen. It's a long shot by any means because he's a defensive end and they just don't represent defensive ends that way. But I think Myles Garrett belongs in the conversation. Him and TJ Watt, if Watt can continue doing what he's doing, but I know there's a little bit of injury issues, they both belong in the conversation. I'm sorry. It's most valuable player, as you guys have said.
Well, if we're throwing defensive players back in there, let me go ahead and steal my honorary Texan card back, Micah Parsons. All right, I'm gone.
I'm gone. He's taking his Texas card back. I was just throwing that out there. I mean, obviously it's similar to a Chris hot take, but I'm saying Myles Garrett, man. I mean, it's if they actually truly wanted to talk about that, like that's where I'm at with that. So,
what about CJ? CJ Stroud has played well enough. I mean, not to be MVP, but Offensive Player of the Year.
He's probably going to win AFC Rookie of the Year.
That seems more reasonable.
I mean, that seems a little reasonable for sure. But primarily, the main reason why I know Myles Garrett ain't going to get it because Sauce Gardner didn't get any recognition last year when he was rookie, because that's just the way that they do things in the NFL. So it's just funny that nobody.
I can see him getting Defensive Player of the Year though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. I just think it's crazy that we're in Week 7 and nobody mentioned Patrick Mahomes because of the year he's had. Like, it's just crazy to me that Patrick isn't part of that conversation because it's just been. It hasn't.
I said Mahomes. He's in the conversation.
Did you say Mahomes? Oh,
yeah.
I mean, he's always in the conversation.
Am I tired? Or is everybody tired of Patrick Mahomes just like me? I feel like I'm just tired of hearing his name. Like,
I'll never get tired of
it. Like, I feel like I'm tired.
That's the issue with football sports. Period. We get tired of consistency. You know what I mean? It's not like in the previous years where a certain quarterback will get 6 MVPs in a row. We can have a guy do the same thing, and he doesn't get, like, you could argue Drew Brees could have got like 5 Offensive Player of the Years in a row. Mm-hmm. But we get tired of the consistency with it. Like, my argument for Lamar, though, is without those drop passes, they're 6-1.
Oh, yeah, I love the Lamar pick. I love
what he
Lamar
just
pick.
did. I think, Justin, you probably know the percentages a lot better, but I think he's the only quarterback with 5 games over 70% in terms of completion percentage.
I mean, it's got to be up there because Lamar's been in a lot of my lists.
Yeah.
And I think you can't have that conversation like you just said with Jalen. If you take a piece away, does his success still be there? You know what I mean? Because the way he's distributing the ball is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And another thing is Jared Goff is playing really well, but because of the lack of the touchdowns overall, because they run the ball when they get inside the 10, it kind of takes away, I feel like, from Goff's like impact on the game as far as what he's done so far this year. I mean, even this game against Baltimore, it wasn't pretty, but I mean, he still put up some pretty good numbers. He kept them. He had them fighting all the way down to the end. I mean, you think about when David Montgomery had the 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, how many of that was Goff passing to either Amon-Ra St. Brown or Josh Reynolds? So I don't think Goff is necessarily getting the recognition, but I think a lot of that's because of the touchdowns leaning towards the running side.
I mean, and sidebar to that too. I mean, part of it I think is really the media perception. We go back to media here. The media perception of what's happening in Detroit. The reason why Kirk Cousins will never win an MVP is the media perception of him in primetime games. So whenever Jared Goff doesn't necessarily lay an egg, but the team lays an egg against Baltimore like that's definitely going to throw him out of the conversation for good. And then you look at statistics and touchdowns hurt that too. But at the end of the day, MVP has definitely become a media perception award on who's most valuable, and that's why it's typically always the quarterback.
Yeah, and I want to throw a quick. I want to throw a quick little nugget out there, by the way, real quick. Josh Reynolds in his entire career has only caught touchdowns from one quarterback. Jared Goff is the only quarterback he's ever caught a touchdown from in his career. Just a little crazy little side nugget for you, just so you guys know. I don't think any of you care, but I mean, I'm just letting you know.
But I think their past history too keeps them out of the discussions, which I don't think is fair. You know what I mean? Like, it's about what are they doing this specific season. Like, Patrick Mahomes is considered MVP candidate before the season started.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't necessarily do that. Like, anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like, Travis Kelce could definitely be in the discussion because what would he be without Kelce?
Well, we saw it in Week 1. You know what I mean? Like, we saw the struggles in Week 1 without Kelce. You know, and you know, and I had just had this conversation with somebody the other day. They were trying to say that Detroit wasn't a good team. And it was because of all the past notions, like, oh well, yeah, they're 5-2, but what does that really mean? That's like 1-6 in Detroit world, and it's like, man, like Anyways,
Coming
it's always
from
those preconceived notions, man. You know?
coming from the program that they used to be, that's pretty well.
Yeah, 5-2 is like a Super Bowl for
Yeah.
them, like, you know. Kareem Jackson. Now, I want to bring him up because his suspension was reduced from 4 games to 2 games today. This last hit looked, I don't want to say clean per se, but as far as the hit was concerned, it
You
was with the
can.
shoulder. Well, and I'm gonna preface this like it was with the shoulder. His head was to the side. It wasn't helmet to helmet, but it was a defenseless receiver, and he did kind of launch into the receiver, so that makes it an illegal hit. The hit itself may not have been dirty, and it may have been a clean hit, but the actual play, in my opinion, was definitely called right on the field. Now, I don't know if he necessarily warranted an ejection of any sort, but when you're a repeat offender like Kareem has been this year, you get ejected because you have a target on your back. AC, I mean, was this the right call? And is 2 games too much, or fair, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think when you taking money off a guy's plate, that's unfair. You know what I
That's fair.
mean?
That's
Because
fair.
if you look at the hit, the guy was falling down. You know what I mean? So whether he launched or not, I've been watching Kareem for a long time. Like he
Mhm.
played the same as a corner when he was at USC. He's a hitter. Like that's what he does. But I think it's unfair, and this is as an offensive player, to ask these guys to play as fast as they do and give them such a small target area to be able to hit you. You know, they know that we're businessmen, so they don't want to take your legs out. But when they reduce to that situation, look what happened to a guy like Gronk when TJ Ward took his knee out. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, what is he supposed to do? And oftentimes, we as offensive players, we curl up, so you shrink that target spot. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the shoulder to head, especially if you don't have a neck, like my neck ain't big at all. So even if I turn my head to the side, we getting some helmet to helmet contact. So in which way is he supposed to hit him?
Mhm.
I just think it's unrealistic what they're asking these guys to do.
Okay, yeah, I think that's very fair, and like I said, I think the actual act of it was perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with it. It was just the fact that based upon the rules in the NFL, it's defenseless. Now, Justin, the other 2 hits were definitely helmet to helmet and a launch and whatever else. What's your take on this? Is it very similar where as an offensive player, or is it is it a little bit different? What's your take?
I mean, you look at defensive guys and you're asking them to make a split-second decision with a very, very small target area for them to hit. And defensive guys, by nature, are going to want to launch at something. They're going to want to hit. I mean, they've grown up watching Ray Lewis. Like, come on. Like, they want to make those hits. That's why they play defense. And as offensive guys, sometimes we want to be hit like that too because, hey, prove we're tough. But at the end of the day, no. I mean, yeah, if you launch at a guy per the rules, it's a penalty. But at the end of the day, you're never really going to truly know the intent of someone until either after the hit, if they go taunt somebody, whatever. So it's just like in legal proceedings, you can never truly figure out the motive of something or someone until after the fact that they've done it. So it's unfortunate, but football's a physical game. So it comes with the territory, and you can only kind of go off of what the rules are now stating. But I will say it is increasingly, I mean, it's becoming increasingly harder to play defense because of the rules leaning towards offense and protection and things like that, which obviously are rightly so. But at the same time, it's a physical game. We have to accept that, and we know the risks when we cross those white lines.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, you play the game, you know it's a physical sport, you know what you're getting yourself into as far as it's concerned. Kenyon, for me, I think my problem with this is you ejected him here and you suspended him here for this hit, which was probably the out of the 3, the most was the cleanest hit. Whereas especially the Logan Thomas hit in the end zone, and you didn't do it for that game. I think that's my biggest problem. What's your take? Is that a problem for you as well?
Yeah, it is a problem with me. I'm gonna say it straight up. Because if you're gonna start calling players for stuff like that, you're gonna have to be very consistent. You can't just tit for tat with somebody. Like that's just a whole mind game that I'm not even gonna get into. But as a defender, like you know what I'm saying, like was said, the defenders like to go hit. I mean, hell, I like to go hit. But it's it's like the box is so small. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I think if you're gonna be like that, you gotta go all the way out for it.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, I'm all about player safety. It's one thing that I am about, but you know, at the same time, like we've all played, well, with the exception of maybe Chris, he plays flag, but we've all played the tackle side of things, and like we all understand the 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 nature of the game. I mean, it's a physical game, and whatnot. Chris, what's your take on this? I mean, we had a little bit of a discussion in the chat with it when it first happened, and I explained the same thing that I explained earlier. What's your take? Because you didn't really respond too much until the next day.
Yeah, I was kind of watching. I mean, Kareem Jackson's from Georgia, so down in Georgia, they're taught to play football that way. But I think
I will say yes, we are.
but I think the biggest thing, look, everyone on the screen, including me, like I understand football is a physical sport, right? And we've all taken, like probably you guys more than me, obviously, but like hits, that are bad or rough. Like Alex, last year the league he played in, he played against a team called the Mississippi Raiders. Those guys go through training on how to be dirty. So it's one of those things where there's certain teams and certain leagues. But Kareem's a vet, man. Kareem's in the NFL. He's making his dough. At the end of the day, like when you're a vet in the game, you can get away with that kind of stuff. It's okay to make hits like that. And I think, yeah, Kareem gets probably really in the mode, and someone needs to tell him, hey, slow it down. 2 games. If I was Kareem, man, I would be loving it. 2-game suspension. I can go down to my beach house in Florida, chill for 2 weeks, come back. I mean, my team's not doing anything this year anyway. So it's kind of a win for Kareem in a way if you look at it that way. But no, football is a physical game. Hits like that are net. Hits. I'm not going to be like, they say on ESPN, hits like that have no place in our game. I mean, they do have a place in our game. That's what football is.
The place in the game is our intro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, Bill Romanowski, Brian Cushing, all those guys. Like, those guys are staples of football. They make football. So,
I mean, I got a question for everybody. I think it's about the draw. You know what I'm saying? He came into the league, if I'm not mistaken, in 2010, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine how much the rules have changed. You're asking him to unlearn something. But two, I don't know if y'all remember when Adrian Peterson hit William Gay. Y'all remember that?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Would we have ever considered a 6-game suspension?
No, no.
You know what I mean? But the draw is different. We need Adrian Peterson out there. Nobody's watching the Broncos. Nobody's going to the game, sadly. Truthfully, like they're not primetime television.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to see them. And Kareem, I think, is a great player, but nobody's showing up to see Kareem Jackson.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I just think it's a draw. Like we can afford to have him off the field for 4 games because he's not our big money maker. You know what I mean? Like I just think you're taking away one of his skills. Yeah. I don't get that.
And to add to that too, I mean, because I come from the baseball side of the world too. You know how many times umpires know they've blown a call, so they'll blow another call to make up for the blown call they just made.
Oh man!
And that happens. So to me, what this even screams to is the 2-game suspension warranted? Absolutely not. But at the same time, Kareem carries the stigma of this is what he does. And the NFL rule set is now this. He hasn't quote unquote learned the new rule set. So you have to make make a guy aware of it. You got to make an example of it. And this is, I think, one of those ways of saying, hey, we're making up for some of the hits that maybe you should have been suspended for. And now this is the level of hit that you really should be, but this is the makeup call for it. And that's why you're seeing this game or the 4-game suspension be taken down to 2. And heck, maybe even another appeal takes it down to 1 game. Who knows? But I think it'll probably stay at 2.
Yeah, if this was the Logan Thomas hit, I would probably say at least a 1-game suspension would have been warranted. Actually, as a matter of fact, that's what I said when he hit Logan Thomas. But primarily because I was in the end zone. It was late as well, and he launched helmet to helmet on that one. But this one, it just doesn't feel right to me, man. And like, I don't, the unfortunate mindset, and like Coach said in the comments, and like Alex just brought up, like, the rules have changed so much. Justin, you brought it up a minute ago that the offensive minded aspect, because points mean viewership or whatever it may be, and it's a situation where any kid going into sports or going into football specifically is you're going to see an overabundance of offensive players wanting to play of guys wanting to play on offense, because nobody's going to want to play defense. It's exactly what's going to happen. It sucks. I hate it across the board, but it's basically what it's going to look like at this point.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's one thing. I mean, offense is the best place to play. I'm on my flag football team. They asked me if I wanted to play any sort of defense, rushing or anything. I decided to sit on the bench. I'd rather be the backup quarterback than do anything on defense, and I refuse to play defense. And I think offense is the better part of the game to play at the end of the day, man. I just have to say it.
I mean,
Yeah,
if I
probably the worst position to ever play in football. I mean, it's probably the hardest position playing football.
Which one?
At least physically.
Which one? Cornerback?
Yeah, corner. Yeah.
Yeah, corner. Yeah, and to me, corner is one of the top. This is another debate. I want to bring this. We talked a little bit about this, but like, I think cornerback should be in the discussion for most important position on the field.
Cornerback?
Corner.
Yeah.
I mean, because to me, offensive tackle, I think, is number one. But I'm a little bit biased with being a former offensive line, even though I played center. But I'm a little bit biased. I think offensive.
Not biased at all.
I mean, it's a little biased. I'm an offensive lineman, can you? Like,
coming from another offensive lineman.
Yeah, coming from another.
It's not biased.
We can make this list right now. Like, I'm not even playing. Like, we can make this list right now.
I got my top 4 in order to go right now.
What list are we making?
Hardest
most important position.
Field.
Not hardest, but most important.
You're not going to put offensive tackle in there as number 1, are you?
For most important?
Yeah.
For most important offensive tackle, absolutely, yes. Number 1.
Number 1?
Yeah. Number 1 for most important.
I honestly think, like, in the 90s, early 2000s, you're right. I really do. I don't think they're, like, evolving with the game, though. They're getting exposed because they're asking them to do something that's...
Yeah, we did discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, they're asking them to do something that's not really fair. You know what I mean? Like...
But I think Edge is very close number 2, though. And then I put QB at 3. No offense, Justin. Sorry. And then at 4, I put cornerback.
I mean, hey, you're never going to see me complain about a receiver or an offensive lineman go ahead of me in most important, because that's what makes me look good. Hey, I'm cool with that.
Absolutely, for sure, absolutely. I mean, for sure. But yeah, Alex, you are right, though, man. I think that the league, especially in the NFL, hasn't really adapted to asking their offensive tackles to adjust, and I think that's why you're seeing edges, because we discussed it with the bad O-line play a couple weeks ago. Well, when we were talking about the bad offensive linemen, like the edge rushers in the NFL this year specifically have kind of exposed the offensive tackle play in the league, and you have your key guys that are top notch in the league, but edge has really kind of been dominating the offensive tackles, and Alex AC brought it up a couple weeks ago that is primarily because they're asking them to be be the 6'6", 300-pound guy and not be necessarily as athletic, while a lot of the edge guys now are 6'4", 6'5", and can run a 4.5 40 and bench 87 reps or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it just
coming straight off the basketball court.
Yeah, it feels like there's I guess a discrepancy between the athleticism on the offensive tackle side and the edge side, I think, is what Alex was getting to.
Yeah, I mean, there's not very many Trent Williamses. You know what I mean? Like, to me, he would be the blueprint, but that's a hard ass. Like, he's a very rare individual. You know what I mean? But I've literally watched Von Miller bend in a way that he goes right under the arm of the tackle's extended arm. How is he supposed to stop that? How is he supposed to stop that? I don't think it's a. It just has to change. You know what I mean? Like 6'7", 6'6", trying to stop somebody that's like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to switch gears a little bit here before we get into Justin's top quarterbacks, and primarily because I want Chris to find there is a video intro for Justin now. And I want you to find it real quick.
I've never heard the audio of it. Sam sent me the video, but I've never heard the audio because I was at work when he sent it.
There is an audio on it. I just want to throw this out here real quick while Chris looks for that video because I don't know if it's uploaded or not. Okay. Caleb Williams.
Oh my God.
Caleb Williams. Anybody got any comments
I'm
on
glad
this?
he said it. I'm glad he said it.
I feel like Caleb might talk his way out of being the first overall pick.
Yeah, that ownership discussion is ridiculous.
I mean, I really don't have a problem with it. Like, didn't Brady try to do the exact same thing?
No,
not when he first came in.
No, Brady retired and he was trying to get into the Raiders, and then there was speculation that he could play for the Raiders, but the NFL actually has a rule in place that ownership can't also play. So
I thought they had to get like the confirmation of all 32 teams for something like that to happen.
For ownership, when a new owner comes in, yes, but not when it's for a player ownership. There's an NFL rule against it.
Why is there a rule against it? Like, what are the stipulations of like a player owning and playing? Like,
what you don't want to see happen for the owner's safety and even just the league in general for monopoly purposes is you don't want to have a 55-year-old dude that purchased the team say, "Oh, well, coach, you're going to have to play me because I'm the owner, and if you don't, you're fired."
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not
that happens a lot
mistaken.
in soccer.
You can manipulate workman's comp that way, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I will say that I'm not mad at Caleb for wanting to say it. It's just from a team perspective and a team organizations aspect. When you start hearing stuff like that from a guy who's never played a down in the NFL, if I'm a team owner and a GM, I'm kind of looking at him going, where's his headspace at? Will he be committed to this team? If we draft him, he doesn't have an ownership role, right?
And it's the same thing, same narrative, but different subject from another California college kid right down the street with Josh Rosen.
Mm-hmm. So it really starts playing, no matter how talented Caleb may be, you start playing into the head aspect of it. How committed is he to the game, and how committed is he to winning in this organization? So,
yeah, no, I think this is a problem, right? That he thinks he can just run his mouth like that. Because when he runs his mouth in the NFL, he's gonna get popped. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. I mean, that's the way it works, man. And it's funny because me and Alex,
take this ownership.
Yeah. Exactly. me and AC were having this conversation the other day, not about an NFL player, but certain people in the arena of football. You know how it goes. Player, owner, coach, everything. But it's one of those things, man, where you can't do it all. He's an egotistical maniac. That's what he is. And I used to love Caleb. I was a huge Caleb fan, and now I'm not. Now I seriously want to see him fail in the NFL. If he continues, I like Shedeur. No.
Let's throw in the timeline that like 3 weeks, like he loved Caleb like 3 weeks ago, and 3 weeks later, this is where we've got.
No. I like Shedeur. I think Shedeur is a good guy. Like I think Shedeur doesn't talk all that. Shedeur takes responsibility.
But Shedeur has all these other distractions that he needs to get rid of before.
That's why he's still in the Heisman conversation. He's still in the Heisman conversation for today.
Bro, Shedeur talks every day.
But those people, those players though, like when they're entitled, Shedeur's a rich kid. So one, you're entitled, but I don't see something wrong with confidence in a way. But part of it is like with Caleb Williams, who told you to say that?
His dad.
Because there's no way you have that type of team. I mean, not that type of team, that type of success. At such a young age, you dominated college football, and then out of nowhere, you're letting people tell you to do things that are definitely going to make you less appealing to a team. Like, who's your crew? Who's your PR crew?
His
Because that's
dad.
just dumb. I wouldn't even let that come out.
Yeah, no, and again, I'm not opposed to Caleb and Shadur. I mean, I don't know about wanting him to fail like Chris wants, but like,
I'm about to say
I,
that is
I,
so,
I said it
so.
if he continues, because I've seen it, man. I mean, Robert Kibiti, all these guys, like I've seen it firsthand. I know what it's like to first round bust, whatever. So I don't want him to fail. But if he continues with a cocky attitude, yeah, you have to be humble, man. The world we live in, they give free handouts. I don't come for free handouts, man. I know what it's like. So I'm a
oh man.
You're
Well,
like,
with that being said, Chris, I'm going to tell you that no quarterback of a 3-loss team is going to win the Heisman Trophy. Go ahead. We'll get over here to Justin, so Justin can run his top 5
I'm telling you,
quarterbacks.
Bo Nick's looking good.
He is. Bo Nix
Because
is looking real good.
Penix stunk it up the other day
He
against
did.
Arizona State.
He did. We're gonna run this this audio for Justin here in this video. Chris, go ahead, my man. Just let's roll into the top 5 for Justin.
There's a lot of things that take into account when you talk about being viewed as a top 5 quarterback. It's not a laundry list. This is a list that it has to be taken very seriously.
Yeah, as Mike Vick said, this list has to be taken very, very seriously. All right, so here's my top 5 quarterbacks of the week. All right, so I'll start off with honorable mentions. We always got to have honorable mentions on this show. I think Trevor Lawrence definitely played some really good football this week, but he didn't make it in my top 5. And just because NAIA guy, D2 guy, Tyson Badgett, or Badgett, however you say his last name, played a decent game of football, showed that that the small school guy can go out and do it. So that's an honorable mention there. But no, I mean, showed flashes, played fairly well. But anyway, number 5.
I got the Bears quarterback.
Yeah, it was the Bears QB.
Yeah, Bears QB. Yep. So at number 5, I got Gardner Minshew with the Colts. Had a 119.4 QBR, 305 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But what got him on this list was what he also did on the ground: 3 carries, 29 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which was roughly a 10-yard per carry average, or 10-yard per carry average. Yeah, he did have 3 fumbles, and that's why he falls to number 5 on my list. I mean, 39-38 game. Browns pull that one out. But hey, Gardner Minshew, number 5 on the list. Kenyon's over there celebrating, jumping around for joy. Number 4, Chris, you can start jumping around. Mac Jones. Mac finally appears back on the list. 126.7 QBR, 25 of 30, only had 5 incompletions. I didn't check to see what the drops or anything were, but 272 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mac got the ball out of his hands. Was good at identifying blitzes, and that's the type of football that you need to see out of the Patriots, and that you need to see Mac Jones play. Because this is the Mac Jones that can be successful in the NFL. So Mac has to continue to do that, and that's 2 weeks in a row. Mac's played some pretty good football. Number 3, this might surprise some people, but again, maybe not Chris. Number 3, Kirk Cousins on the list. Maybe this is Viking bias. Who cares? 107.2 QBR, 35 of 45 for 378, 2 touchdowns and an interception. The interception came on the second pass of the game, and that was still one where the defensive player still stole it away. But you look at the Vikings, and when I kind of talk about team report later, I'll go into it a little more in depth. But the Vikings played almost pretty much perfect offensive football at every point after the interception. And again, that's due to Kirk Cousins and obviously some additions in the run game that I'll talk about. Number 2, one of the guys that I said in the MVP candidate conversation, Patrick Mahomes. I know we all get tired of consistency, but Patrick deserves to be there. 129.5 QBR, 32 of 42 for 424 yards. That led the league in passing yards this week. 4 touchdowns and an interception. And hey, Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift have a handshake that they need to start working on. All right. So, and Patrick will continue to do that to allow Kelsey to work on that. Allow the couple there to work on the handshake. And number 1, AC's pick for MVP, Lamar Jackson. This is the 2nd week in a row that this Todd Monken offense finally shows what we all expected it to do starting in week 1. Took a while to get there, but Lamar Jackson is the dude, or is that dude in the NFL. 155.8 QBR, 21 to 27, 357 in the air with 3 touchdowns. He wasn't sacked at all in the game. And then you add that on top of 9 carries for 36 yards, a touchdown. And yeah, he had the fumble, but I mean, 4 total touchdowns for Lamar. He pretty much did everything for that team. And thank you for throwing to Mark Andrews a couple times for my fantasy team. So, I mean, that's my top 5 list right there for the quarterback performances of Week 7. Definitely let me know in the comment section what you think. Any guys I missed? And if you like the list, definitely go leave a like on this episode and come back for next week in Week 8.
There we are. There we are. Take that list seriously. It's in the intro. You have to. Little pop quiz here, guys. Who's the only team in the NFL to score over 20 points in a game this year? Somebody's got to get it. Come on, somebody's got to get it. That's a lot of stump. That's a lot of stump faces happening right there.
Ask the question again.
Who's the only team in the NFL to score over 20 points every game this year?
Oh, every
one team. There's one team that's done it.
Can we get a hint?
I'll give you a hint as soon as I hear a guess. How about that, Kenyon?
Only team to score over 20 points this year.
That's a lot of stump faces.
Not Vikings.
I want to almost say
Chargers. No, not Chargers.
No, give it to Patrick Mahomes and them. I feel like they always do something.
It is not Kansas City, but that is the right conference. It's the AFC.
The Rams.
It's the AFC.
Oh, you said the AFC.
And for the comment section, Facebook user and Shane, it is not the Dolphins, believe it or not.
The Chargers.
Nope, not the Chargers. So the AFC West and AFC East, it's no team in those two. So it's either the North or the South. How about that? Not the Jags. Right division, though.
Tennessee Titans.
Not the Titans.
Okay. Oh, Texans.
Not the Texans.
Really?
It's the Colts. It's the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay. Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew. Let's jump into the team report. This is the end as we get ready to roll up the end of the show here.
Zach Moss been balling. That's why.
Zach Moss has been balling out. Jonathan Taylor's starting to ball out too. They both actually look like they're going to be able to, get into it as well here. Well, Chris disappeared real quick. I think he's on audio, so we'll jump over to Kenyon first. The Cleveland Browns report. The Brownies. A little bit of a controversy here at the end of this game against Indianapolis, but you got the win there, man. What's the report in Cleveland?
Report is we got the win. hey, a win is a win, no matter how ugly it is. Remember that, ladies and fellas, and somebody will say it again for the people in the back. Win is a win. The offense, we still got to get that together. I probably said that for like three weeks in a row, give or take. We got to stop turning that ball over, but that defense is nasty. Myles Garrett, nasty. But we wouldn't have won without him. Truth be honest, hands down. Hey, you can come at me in the comments if you do not think otherwise. All I gotta say is let's go Browns. We got another one. We tied for second in the conference, so I'm ready.
Nice. Chris rolling out with a win against Buffalo. Big victory for the New England Patriots. What's your team report, my man?
Man, I was so psyched. I was going crazy. What a win. What a game. If Coach Negon is watching, man, I told you. Man, this is personal. I'm so happy. I'm just so happy. We exposed Buffalo. Josh is my guy, but, I'm happy to see him go down because, I just feel like the defense played a great game. I think J.C. Jackson is still a bum either way, but
what?
That tight end that we have, by the way, Farrell Brown. I don't know if y'all saw him. 86 on the Patriots. He's built like a.
Oh yeah, he's a duck.
He was down there in Houston.
Yeah,
he's a duck.
He's a refrigerator. He's unbelievable. He's so tight up there, man. He's huge, and we need him, man. He might be a future at that position. I mean, he played a great game. He was catching so many 50-50 balls out there. Like, that's my guy, man. I'm a huge fan of Brown, guys. I'm really excited.
He might be your best offensive lineman, too.
I'm David. Don't disrespect David Andrews like that, man. David Andrews is top 15 in the NFL. So, Yeah.
No doubt. AC, your boys were on a bye this week, but what can we expect moving forward? Do you think the bye week came at the right time for you guys?
Absolutely, because we need Joe to be healthy. Because we're still in it, so we need Joe to be healthy. So I definitely think we got a chance to get some things together. I was hoping to figure out some type of trade move or something of that nature, but we didn't do anything yet. But it's cool. Need to make moves like the Eagles.
Well, we'll see what happens this week. We'll see what happens coming out of this week, and if Cincinnati makes a move heading into the deadline. Deb, I think you're with us on audio. Are you here?
I'm here.
All right, man. Yeah. What's the Houston Texans report? You guys had a bye this week. What's it look like for you moving forward? Came at a good time?
Yeah, I think it's a good time that we had a bye week. I can see us moving forward and maybe get more wins as the season goes. So, hopefully they can continuously collect on that D'Amico and that CJ Stroud hop going on right now.
Yeah, no doubt. The AFC South is kind of wide open for the most part. I mean, Jacksonville looking like that they're gonna maybe win it, or that they might be the best team in it overall, but it's still pretty wide open, I think, down there. That North is going to beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
Between the Ravens, Brownies, and the Bengals, they're all going to beat the hell out of each other.
I believe they do that every year.
They really, Pittsburgh too. Yeah, you can't even forget about Pittsburgh. No
Is
doubt.
anybody worried about Pittsburgh this year? I'm not.
Well, I mean, they held
Not
Baltimore to 10
really.
points. I mean,
They shouldn't. They didn't hold them to 10 though. They did on paper, but come on, man. Like, we paying these guys millions of dollars and they dropping the ball. Like,
yeah. No doubt. Justin, give us your Minnesota update with a little bit of Atlanta flavor sprinkled in there.
Yeah, well, before I even do that, let me just add something for UAC. The next 4 or 5 weeks for Cincinnati are make or break to your season. You get 49ers, Bills, Texans, Ravens, Steelers, Jags in that.
Ouch.
And then Colts.
Damn.
So that's
you think I don't know that?
Yeah. I mean, because I went to go look at that. Oh, and
this is the best time to get the Niners because Debo out for a minute.
That is true.
And Warner hurt. So we might.
And they're coming off 2 straight. And they're coming off 2 straight losses too. So.
Yeah, we might be straight. If the Browns can do it, we could definitely.
Hey, you don't need that.
Hey, Massage Envy hurt.
Well, let's segue that 49ers loss into me talking about my team. So on Monday night, primetime, Kirk is back. All right. But no, offensively, like I said in the quarterback rankings, the Vikings were pretty much flawless offensively. I liked finally getting a guy like Cam Akers in the mix. With the screenplay, working the seams. I mean, Hawkinson was obviously a beast in the game, just being able to work the seams and work the short intermediate routes. And then Jordan Addison continuing to do amazing things. I mean, hey, yeah, you kind of get bailed out there with the catch that he made for the 60-yard touchdown. But hey, that happens, and you go tip your hat to the receiver, and then you go buy him an extra steak after the game. That's also a note for UAC. All right. But no, I mean the Viking defense. I mean it's finally starting to come together under Flores. You look at what Flores did in Miami. They're going to run a lot of zone, hey, sprinkle some man in there too. But they're going to try to really get some pressure on you before maybe the occasional 5, and try to consistently change what the quarterback's going to see. And they did a good job at being able to pressure Purdy, force Purdy off schedule, and Purdy. I've seen plenty of people like college teammates of mine who are 49er fans saying, "Oh, Purdy needs to be gone. He's just a system quarterback." And I went to the comment section. I'm like, you know how many quarterbacks are system quarterbacks that you would never think are system quarterbacks? And system quarterback, it's kind of like it's kind of like the field general term.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong with it at all.
So, and that's the thing. I'm like, okay, Purdy was still very good in this game, concerning like how third downs went, and then obviously the 2 interceptions late in the game. But Minnesota, finally are really putting something together. And yeah, I would love for them to have maybe 1 or 2 extra wins from some games that they probably should have had earlier on in the year. But no, I mean, sitting 3-4, 3 straight wins after starting 0-4, or what was it, like 3 wins in the last 4 games, whatever it is. I mean, they're finally starting to turn it around. I mean, the Lions, they're not necessarily struggling, but obviously they lost 38-6, and maybe there's a window to try to get back at least in the wild card race with a wide open NFC. And then speaking of 4-3 teams, Atlanta did what they had to do in a game that Desmond Ridder almost blew, but went into Tampa, took on the division leading team, won. Now you're 4-3, sitting at the top of the division. Saints don't know what they're doing. And so, hey, the NFC South's wide open too. So my 2 teams are definitely back in postseason shape, which, I mean, hey, can't be too mad about that.
Facebook user, just to answer your question about Addison, he left the game with a shin injury, but he came back in and finished out the game. Yeah. So he appears to be fine. Madison and Mattinson and Akers ran the ball both very well. I felt like Akers was a little more explosive. I think he was eager to get out there and play. I hope Minnesota rolls him in a little bit more. And also Marcus Davenport. If Marcus Davenport could ever stay healthy, he is you guys got him for fairly cheap. That dude is legit. He just needs to stay healthy. It was his problem in New Orleans. He couldn't stay healthy. He's on IR right now, but man, when he came back to play for you guys for those 2 games, man, he was doing all kinds of work before he got hurt.
There's a lot of underrated pieces on this defense that I think when you really start putting things together, you can see maybe some signs of what Atlanta did in that Super Bowl run with that type of defense they had. And then obviously what you see in Miami.
Yeah. So my team, a lot of turmoil surrounding my team. Ron Rivera is on the hot seat. They're saying that he might be the first head coach fired before the end of the year. They're calling for Sam Howell's head, et cetera, et cetera. They scored 7 points against the Giants. You can't do that, especially a team that's reeling like the Giants were. It's Jack Del Rio, though. This defense, I'm going to continue to be harsh in this individual team report. Jack Del Rio cannot get his team off the field on 3rd down. I don't know if it's a combination of Chase Young not wanting to be there or what is happening. Montez Sweat seems like he's just out motorizing Chase. And then I hear today that no contract conversations have happened between for either one of those guys. And it just makes me wonder if it's, even though it's a new regimen, if it's going to be the same old, same old. It does not give my Commanders or my Washington team a single, glimmer of hope at all. I mean, Howell shows flashes. The offense looks pretty solid under Bieniemy overall for the most part. We've had a couple games where it's been a little stagnant, here and there. I think that's just growing pains with the new offense, new offensive coordinator. I think they'll get that worked out. But Del Rio, man, it's a problem for me. I'm going to continue harping it. He's an issue, and if Rivera doesn't make a move soon, it will cost Rivera his job because, Washington's in a very tough division. We get Philadelphia, our last game this week at home against them, and if we can't duplicate the success and pull out a victory there, it could be the end of the line for Rivera at the end of this week. So
I need a Chase Young refund.
Chase, man, when his rookie year, when he was healthy, when he first came in, the dude was looking legit, and then the injury happened, and then he didn't really get back on the field. And then I watched these games with him this year, and I just don't see the same effort I saw before. And I don't know if that's because, like I said, if he's trying to, wanting to get out of there, or what is happening. But I mean,
yeah,
all I know is Del Rio is a huge problem until this team can actually get to the point where, we can get off the field on 3rd down, then it's going to be a long season for us. And Shane, if you wish that on me, man, I swear. I love you, man, but if that happens, man, I'm coming for you.
I think Bieniemy getting a promotion would be much more likely than that. But hey, I won't put it past the Commanders office.
Facebook user also wanted to do this. I was gonna close the show after that, but let's do this real quick. Let's just go around. Anybody have any bold predictions for the rest of the season? We got some big personalities on this. Somebody's got Chris. I mean, hot take city time for you, man, right here. Scoville right here. Come on.
All right, let me cook. So, my big hot take prediction is that the Houston Texans are going to make the playoff. That's number one. Number two is that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. That's my number two. And my number three prediction is
Super hot take.
the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if that's a hot take.
That's
I
a
think
definite possibility.
that's a one.
I hate it though, but
I love it. I love everything about it. I want to get that boy. That boy Lamar has been starving for a ring. And what Lamar did this weekend, I know Justin. I'm happy that Justin gave Lamar his respect finally. But I think Lamar proved to me what I've always known about Lamar. I know everyone said after that MVP season he kind of plateaued, but that happened to every MVP. Every MVP plateaued the next season. So, Lamar's back. Lamar's healthy and ready to go. And my final bold prediction for the season is that the Patriots are going to continue to lose games. I know that might be bold, but we will not draft the quarterback if we cannot get Bo Nix or Caleb. I think we should wait till 2025 and get the best quarterback available, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, baby.
Oh my Jesus!
That's not going. He's not going to no doggone New
Good
England.
Lord, dude.
hey, I love Shedeur, but there's no way you think he's better than Drake May.
Well, okay. Look, no. Drake May's arm may be better than Shedeur, but his pocket presence, come on now. I mean, Shedeur
Dog, Drake, name
Fam.
a receiver Drake May has.
Ted Walker.
Who?
So he's had him. So for 2 weeks he's had him.
Yeah,
I'm about to say Travis Hunter was the number one player in the entire country.
Fam, you got to get off this Shedeur. So you got to see Shedeur Sanders for what he really is, man. You need to get off that train. I promise you.
I mean, he's good, but
He's good.
Right.
He's good, but this is way overhyped, man. Like,
look, I know how to not. Look, I know.
Do you think if he was still at Jackson State that he would be getting the same hype?
Well,
I mean, he's on a bigger stage now.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think Shedeur Sanders is a fine quarterback. I don't have any issues with Shedeur. But do you honestly think that if this was happening at Jackson State right now, that this would be the same kind of hype? Like,
no, Jackson State.
Yeah.
Jackson State is an HBCU. I mean, at the end of the day, HBCUs, they're dogs in HBCU. I promise.
Oh, absolutely. There definitely is, for sure.
Like, and I was watching the game today, man, and I'm telling you, man, they're the one receiver. This is going to sound so random. Mississippi Valley State, wide receiver, number 13. I'm telling you, man, he's an NFL player. Because of the field he plays on, it slows him down. I'm telling you, the grass they play on is horrible. But what I'm trying to say, look, and by the way, I need to end with this.
That's Jerry Rice grass.
I changed my stance on turf and grass. So after doing my own research, right, I did some walking around. I did some kind of digging. I went to different fields in the area because I was like, where am I missing? You know what I mean? Like, what am I missing? What do I need to find? So I will say there are some grass surfaces that are better than turf, but that said, my same conclusion: turf is better than grass. That's my same conclusion.
Jesus.
Turf is what?
He said turf is better than grass. Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah. He said that.
Depending on the grass.
The quality of grass, no. If it's like SEC grass, no.
He's trying to do that up here in New England in the fall, man. Like,
I mean, I know why we do it up north, but it's still horrible. Like,
you might as well just go play in an empty parking lot and try to do that up here in the fall.
Man,
get hurt playing on grass. If the grass is long, then you can legit get hurt. The playing in long grass.
But you're not supposed to play in long grass, though.
You're gonna get hurt on
the grass like the day
honestly,
before
have
the
you
game.
been on an NFL or an SEC grass field before?
No.
Oh, bro, you wouldn't even have this. We wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm going to Gillette.
It looks like turf. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's fast. It's like golf green.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of grass, I think of like the grass in my local park. Like
Of course not. That's not even level.
The field grass. Like the football.
Fam, you're in Massachusetts, bro. It's fall, man. Like,
if you
come
put
on,
your
bro.
$1 million athlete on some grass in the park, something's wrong.
Like, you don't want to win.
Something's wrong.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, I'm not trying to be like, Zach Bug from West Texas, but I'm just telling you, man.
Hey.
And I'm not trying to say it because I want to save money, man. I actually mean it. Like when I go and I look at turf, when I move my feet, I do feet evaluations. I go up and down and I like see, okay, what am I missing? But we don't have that type of money where we can just go at and make grass fields like that up here. So turf is our best option. Turf is like our NFL turf. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I get it.
They pay $10 million at my school to put turf in. Like artificial turf.
My high school alma mater just switched from their natural grass field to a turf field, and I walked it the other day, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I don't like it at all, man. I'm down there just like I would have hated playing on this, man. Oh man, Chris definitely coming through with the Schofield hot takes there. Round out the day. Look at that. Oh man. Anybody got any bold predictions here from here? There's really no bold predictions I can think of.
The Browns will win a playoff game this year. Mark
The
my
Browns
words.
Okay,
They will win the playoff games this year. That's a good one.
That could be considered bold.
I like the Houston to the
I'm gonna have a debate.
Houston to the playoffs, yeah. I mean that's a possibility.
Houston in the playoffs.
That's a possibility, man.
It is.
And late deep run. Like, I mean, bro, see that boy. I told you.
Hold on. Time out. The Browns are not making the playoffs. We gotta just be realistic here. Without Nick Chubb, y'all are not making the playoffs.
I can get
because
you right now.
Because the worst part about it, y'all gonna keep trying the Deshaun Jackson train. I mean Deshaun Watson train, which y'all need to let go. Like let PJ be PJ.
And that's what it's gonna end up more or less coming down to. Like you can tell we're at the point where it's like, okay, if this design, if this Watson trade don't work, we're at the point where it's like we're gonna give the two the shot because we're in the middle and we're trying to make this run. We still number 2 in the conference, so we still have as much chance of making and or winning that playoff game.
True, but it's a business. You gotta get some type of kickback from your set. No. Myles Garrett can't run or catch passes for y'all. Amari Cooper decides when he wants to play. Y'all actually have a good setup, but Stefanski, I don't know what he got going on because y'all have a significant deep threat and Marcus Goodwin that y'all don't use. Y'all have somebody that works the middle of the field in Peoples-Jones. Y'all have David Njoku, who is still a valuable tight end. Y'all got Amari Cooper, and y'all still suck.
You don't suck.
It comes back to what he did in Minnesota.
Offensively, y'all suck. I'm not talking about offensively, y'all suck though.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I can kind of.
Ford had a 69-yard run on the first drive. He finished the game with 74 yards.
You talking about Jerome Ford?
Yeah, he had a 69-yard touchdown, and he finished the game with 74 yards.
He also left the game early though. He got hurt.
Point proven.
So he got hurt. But hey, look, man, I think the Brownies are going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to slide in because I think the Buffalo Bills don't make the playoffs.
Ooh, that's bold.
And that's the spot we about to take.
But I'll get that.
That's fair. I mess with that. I mean, they need help at the trade deadline, and they need to be willing to go out. I'm telling you,
I love Ed Oliver, Chris. Not to cut you off right there, but I love Ed Oliver. But that interior D line gets pushed around, and it's what cost them last year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's what cost them last year, and they did literally nothing to bring anybody in to address that. And unless they make a trade at the deadline to bring somebody in that can stop getting pushed around, the Bills are going to miss the playoffs, especially with how good Miami's playing.
I think Josh Allen is a good regular season guy. I just feel like the playoffs aren't for him.
I mean, that's probably my boldest take. And that's because the AFC is loaded. With as good as the Browns' defense is, their offense only needs to get them to probably about 20. or right around 20 to be in a game to win a game. It's very similar. It's very similar to a lot of the other defensive. Now, whether that translates or not is a different story. I think Jacksonville's going to win the South just because I think that they are the most complete team in the South. And I think Houston might be able to sneak in as the number 7 or 6, depending on what happens in the West. But I still think the Chargers are in it, even though I hate Brandon Staley as a coach. I think the Chargers are still in it. It's just going to be tough sledding because the Raiders and Broncos aren't very good. So I think that they can, as long as they don't get upset by one of those guys, I think they're going to be in it at the end of the year. But I think Buffalo, very possibly, especially with the loss to Jacksonville and the loss this week to New England, could very possibly be on the outside looking in the AFC just because of how loaded it is.
I mean, and then you even add to the AFC conversation, Pittsburgh's 4-2. Yeah. I assume they'll probably fall off, but they find a way with the terrible offense to continue to win games defensively. Cincinnati's turning things around, AC. Yep. But, hey, what did we just talk about?
Our secondary, man.
Yeah.
Game? I mean, and then you look at Cleveland. I mean, I don't necessarily hate saying it, but Cleveland's playing what was it, a third-place schedule right now?
Mm-hmm.
They only have 2 or 3 super hard games remaining this year. If they handle business, I don't say they're the top team in the AFC record-wise, but they just play 500 ball between now and the end of the postseason, or now and the start of the postseason. They're probably sneaking in somewhere.
The Bengals need to come out of this stretch over the course of the next 6 games at least at 4-2, in my opinion, to not miss the playoffs. Yeah. The Bengals would be the only team that I feel like that would miss the playoffs over Buffalo. I just have more faith in Joe Burrow and the Bengals than I do.
I would agree with that as well.
Than I do the Buffalo Bills right now. And I am a Josh Allen fan, but I mean, I just think I just put my trust more in the Bengals team as a whole than Buffalo at this point in time.
Well, I mean, and then you also have to think too, where was Cincinnati this time last year? Pulling themselves out of the same hole they started, and they dug themselves this year. So they have the experience, unfortunately, in doing this. And so there's a lot more likely chance that they're able to do that again. But, I mean, throwing my hot take in here, Minnesota wins the NFC North.
Oh, okay.
Still.
You think Detroit's going to slide off?
I feel like Detroit starts to slide off just a tad bit, but I'm looking at the Vikings schedule moving forward, and you play Detroit in week 16 and 18, and every other game is winnable, especially when you lose only by 7 to Kansas City, to 4 to the Chargers, 6 to Philadelphia, and 3 to Tampa. I mean, every game's been one score, and you're starting to see the team that maybe went 11-0 in one-score games again. I mean, they're starting to put things together.
You know who they'll play for like the next 3?
Green Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans.
All 3 games.
Those are winnable. Those are all winnable.
Yeah. And I will be at the Atlanta, Minnesota game.
Of course you will be. You going to wear a double jersey?
Hopefully my dad's not watching because that's his or listening because that's his birthday present. But
happy birthday, Dad!
Happy birthday, Dad!
Man, can I just?
The Chiefs don't make the playoffs as a hot take.
Yeah, I don't see how that's going to be possible, though, man.
AC, did you just like morph into Chris or something? Or
yeah, I think Chris teleported.
Hey, you never know.
No, even if I would have to be on like, I don't know, some mushrooms to say something like that, man. Like that's crazy.
Fam, you said Kendrick Bourne's going to win the AFC Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, that's by far the worst. You can't top that.
Look, you know what I've been told the worst. I don't know if Devion's still on here, but Devion called me crazy when I said Megan Thee Stallion is the greatest artist ever to come out of Houston. You know what I'm saying?
God.
When I'm stating,
you didn't actually say that though.
No, Chris said that.
We said, wait. We said, what about Megan Thee Stallion?
I said Megan Thee Stallion is the greatest artist out of Houston. That's it. Like, she's popping right now, man. On the charts.
So that makes her the greatest to come out of Houston?
That's a bold
statement. You mean to tell me Body Yada 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 is better than Whitney Houston?
I'm lost. Hold up.
I'm saying like she's popping, man. Pop. That's it. That's how it goes.
Well,
ain't Bun B from Houston?
Yeah.
Maybe Scarface from Houston?
Maybe this is an even worse take,
let's-
but this is like saying Sexy Red's the
yo.
best thing out of Georgia.
Oh man.
Oh, no, no,
My
no.
bad.
She can
I
go to
was
the
hoping that her
bathroom.
name never made it on this podcast.
You could at least say
Ever.
Beyonce.
Well, okay. Well, since we're on this
But it's
topic,
happened,
apparently she was
man.
a high school in my county's homecoming celebrity guest.
Oh come
Shout
on.
out
Yes,
Eagles
and
Landing High School.
Yeah, and she got
Man.
she got ridiculed for rapping her music there in front of children.
That
She
was
actually went to my high school. That's the crazy thing.
She went to your high school, Deb?
Yeah.
that's
See?
crazy.
Oh man.
Come on, I said hi.
Oh.
Hey, look, if I find her, I got you.
Oh, you
If I
fine.
find her, I got you.
She at the corner store. Don't worry.
Oh man, we're off the rails here at the goal line stand.
Shout out to Chris for that. Shout out to
Yo,
Shout out Chris. Yeah.
Chris, your
Hey.
those two takes, dog. Like you got one more strike.
He said you on your second strike.
Where that 40 at? You want that?
Oh man. Oh, dude, that's just nuts, man. All right, yeah. What we need is like an intro now or an outro that has like the sound clips, so we can get Kenyon on there saying "body yada yada yada" after
Yo,
every
Did
episode.
you see the official re-announcement of the AIF?
Nah.
Did y'all see it? It's 3
No.
teams in Georgia. Y'all ain't see that?
Yeah,
No.
man.
Three
Yeah.
teams in Georgia.
It's an Atlanta team now. It was Albany and Columbus, but now it's an Atlanta team.
Oh man. All right, guys.
The Peach State, man. Georgia, they talk all about Georgia, about how it's, Southern hospitality. Georgia, in my opinion, is not anywhere near Southern hospitality. But that's my opinion, and I'll find out for myself. Although I'm not a I hate the Georgia Bulldogs. Hate everything.
All right, we're just gonna end there before Justin just blows a gasket. That's gonna do it for tonight at Goal Line
Southern
Stand.
hospitality. There you go.
Oh man, that's gonna do it for tonight here at Goal Line Stand. If you like what you heard and you listened all the way through, Justin, this is usually yours. I'm gonna take it from you tonight. Go hit that like button, comment, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, by all means. Every Tuesday, as always, we will be here back again next week. Maybe a guest on next week as well. That's gonna do it for us tonight. Y'all have a good night, Chris. Man, I can't.